Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Rebecca, only black girl here, checking in. As promised, I am back with my regular content schedule of weekly videos. What I want to talk to you guys about today is something pretty personal, but I think it is an important topic to talk about because I feel like I'm probably not the only adoptee that's dealing with this. And I wish it was something that I had realized a lot sooner in my life. And it's something that I just have kind of just realized this year, which is almost 30 years for me. And so it's something that I wish I would have realized a lot sooner, because it would have given me a lot more time to process it and kind of work things out. But as you can tell by the title of this video, what I wanted to talk about was how adoption has affected my desire personally to have children. Growing up, I guess I would say, I always had this mindset that I always wanted a big family and I wanted to have lots and lots of kids. And, you know, I had the typical, like, I'm going to graduate college by 21 and be married and have this banging job and have like 17 kids and woo, woo, woo. Fast forward to now, I'm almost 29, 0 kids. I did get my degree. But yeah, things don't turn out the way that you thought they were going to turn out when you're like 16, 17 years old. And I'm happy with the way things are now. But the reason I wanted to talk about this topic in particular is because it was something that I actually just kind of clicked for me within the last couple of months. I realized the more I'm around kids that I don't actually enjoy kids. Like, no offense to y'all who are parents and who love kids, like, more power to you. But for me, child, these kids are annoying as shit. Because I had kind of had this revelation, like, I love being an auntie, I love my nieces and nephew, but you know what, it's great because at the end of the day, I get to give them back to their parents and I don't have to deal with them. So the reason this came up for me is because I was back home and I was with my nieces and nephews and I love them and it's great. But I realized that, like, this isn't something that I truly enjoy doing. And so that kind of led me down this path of like, well, then why have I always wanted to have kids? And this was something that I, like, it really kind of shook me for a while, because I was this all of my nearly 30 years of living, I've always had this mindset that I was supposed to have kids and I was going to have a huge family, I was going to have lots of kids and all these kind of things. But then I was thinking, like, if I truly don't enjoy children, why is it that I have this need? Like this need that I feel like I have to have kids. I really sat with that for several weeks, and it was something that I brought up to my therapist and I talked it through with her. And I came to realize that a lot of my desire, I don't even want to call it desire because I don't desire it. It's like I have always felt pressure to have children. One, just because of society standards for women, right? We're always told that that's like our purpose in life. More so for me personally, it's always kind of been linked to the fact that I'm adopted. Because I remember even as a kid, I had always thought, you know, if I ever have kids, I would make sure that, like, I would never give them up for adoption and make sure they have a great biological family. And I think that just kind of spiraled into this feeling like I have to have children to make up for the fact that I was adopted. I realized that my mindset for feeling like I needed to have kids was always so heavily rooted in the fact that I'm adopted and feeling like it's my duty, basically. Like, it's my job. I owe it to myself. I owe it to my past self. I owe it to every adoptee who's ever been adopted to have children of my own and make sure they're raised in a biological family. And that's not a healthy way to raise kids, right? Like, as an adult and being educated as I am, that's not a healthy place to bring a kid into. It's not healthy to bring a kid into a family where they're here because you felt like you had to, right? That's not fair. And it really helped me take a step back and really evaluate, like, if I actually want kids. And something that my therapist talked about with me personally was, she gave me this, not really an exercise, but she told me, you know, think of the end of your life, right? When you picture yourself laying in a hospital bed or laying at home on your deathbed, who do you picture around you? Do you picture your grandkids, your kids around you? Or do you just picture family and friends and your nieces and nephews and all of that? Because like she said, we tend to get stuck on, well, I don't want kids, because we get stuck on the baby phase, right? The baby, the toddler phase, because that's like the most frustrating stage for most people. But like she said, kids grow up. So that child stage is only temporary. So you have to be able to look further ahead and think, our grown children, our grandchildren, that family tree something that I see in my future? And I really took about a month to really think about this and really ponder on it. And honestly, I don't have an answer for that, because honestly, I can see myself at the end of my life happy either way. I really can. Like, I truly can see myself happy having kids and not having kids. So I bring all this up to say, just I wanted to talk about this because I think it's important that adoptees really evaluate the pressures that are put on them, the trauma that's put on them by our adoption experiences. Because even as somebody who's turning 30 next year, there's so many things. There's a link to my adoption trauma that's just now I'm figuring out is linked to my adoption trauma. And so this is one of those things I think is really important, because kids are a big commitment and they don't deserve to come into a family who didn't really want them and just had them because it was something that they felt like they needed to do for themselves. Like, that to me is just not a healthy family. For me, it's the same thing as why I won't ever adopt just because I'm adopted, if that makes sense. People always ask adoptees that question, well, because you're adopted, aren't you going to adopt? Because who best to raise adoptees and adoptees? Yes, that is true, but also it's not fair to adopt a child just because you feel like you have to, because you're also adopted. That's not a healthy family environment to bring anybody into. That's not fair for them either. So just as with adoption and with a biological birth, I think that they both kind of intertwine in the fact that you need to make sure that you're doing it for the correct reasons, and that you're doing it because you genuinely would love to have kids, and not doing it out of trauma in your past, which for me is what I'm realizing now as an adult has been my drive and motivation behind my desire to have kids in the past. Because honestly, I can't think of a time where I've ever thought about having kids and I was like, yeah, I'm so excited to be a mom. I'm so excited to have children. It's always just kind of been like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm just supposed to have kids. I'm still processing this. I'm still like sitting with the fact that like, it's okay. It's truly okay for me to not want to have children. Like, I honestly don't know. I could go one way or the other, and I hate the biological clock thing, but like, my time is ticking. Like, I have another good 10 years, and I hate that too. I hate the fact that like women, we have like a time limit for like if we wanted to have kids biologically, that we have like this time limit that we have to do it in. So like, again, this is one of the reasons why I would have loved to have been able to process this a lot sooner in my life, so I didn't feel like I was like pushed or rushed into making a decision just because I'm getting older. And like, if I did decide I wanted to have kids, I would have to do it like within the next 5-10 years. Like, it's ridiculous. I hate that. This shit is trash. But I think it's important because maybe you are somebody younger than me and you could start this process in figuring out if that's something that is affecting your life. And if it does affect your life, you can process this a lot sooner than I did, and have a little bit more time to figure shit out. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about. It's just sharing a little bit of a personal story, personal journey and growth with me, and something that I'm still working on. And I'm not looking for like sympathy or woo-woo-woos or anything like that. It's just something that I thought was important to share. As of right now, I feel so much more at peace with myself and with my body as a woman, knowing that I don't have this pressure on myself to have kids, and knowing that this pressure I've always had on myself to have kids was rooted in trauma. And I'm so glad that it was something that I've been able to process before I had kids. because I don't think that would have been a healthy situation to bring children into. But yeah, so that's really all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments if this is something that you've thought about, or you have friends that might have dealt with this, or just your thoughts on the whole topic in general. And we will see you guys next week for a new topic. All right, guys.